Hello, Feminine Roadmappers. Welcome back to Feminine Roadmap Inspires. I'm so happy to have you with us today. My storyteller today is Soheila Adelipour. She is a storyteller who has written a book, Dancing to the Darkest Light. She has a devastating and powerful story of survival, and I'm really excited to bring her on to have her share her story and connect with you on so many powerful levels. So Hala, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Gina. Good morning
It
to
is
you.
my pleasure. Now, of course, when I get the opportunity to interview people, I'm given this much of their story. So I do know that you have immigrated from the Middle East. So why don't you tell me about your immigration story and how old you were when that process began?
I was born and raised in Iran. I come from a Jewish family. So when the revolution happened with Khomeini, I don't know how many of the listeners remember that 1979 with the hostages, 444 days of hostage situation. I was in Iran when the whole revolution went on and Shah left and Khomeini came, and then all the rules changed and the country became an Islamic Republic country that I was supposed to walk around with my hair covered, and they were killing people and putting people in prison as they wished. So us being Jewish, we thought Khomeini is going to be the next Hitler. And my mom, my sister, and my brother and my dad, they had visas to come to United States before the revolutionaries took over the embassy. I couldn't get it because I was away in college in another city in Iran. So my father stayed behind with me in Tehran until I found a way through a religious Jewish group in Brooklyn called the Lubavitchers. They took actually the Pan Am airplane filled with young students from Iran. We went to Rome. We stayed in Rome for a week. And one night, midnight, the bus came, busloads of students. We went to the consulate in Rome from the back door, and they gave us a visa to United States. And at that moment, I thought, oh, the situation must be really bad that they have the consulate in Rome open for us midnight. And then we came to United States after that, and I joined my family,
That's
which
wonderful.
yeah, we left everything behind. Everything. We just left with one luggage of clothes. I don't even have my pictures. I don't even have an album or anything. Because we didn't want to raise any flag. We didn't want the neighbors to know that we're leaving the country. So we just took a luggage, which was allowed, and we left the country. We left everything behind.
Did your whole family come to America then?
Yeah. My mom and my sisters and my brother left before me, and they were all in New York. And my dad and we joined them later. Yeah, we all started from zero in New York. But we were happy to be in America, land of opportunity, the greatest country in the world. Honestly, we couldn't care less that we left the house, the car, money, whatever behind. We were just happy that we were safe here.
Now, I've heard a lot of stories of, people being very well off in another country, and when they flee and they come here, the money doesn't transfer the same. And
No.
so you're literally poor, right?
Yes, yes, we were. Not that we were hungry. We had a little bit enough to survive, but we were all living in a small one-bedroom apartment in Scarsdale, north of Iran. We were all couches, beds, whatever. Uh, so, and we all started working right away, so we could, just continue with our lives. But
And
again, we were happy we were here.
did you all speak English once you got here?
Yes, we all went to English schools in Iran. With English from England. So when we came over here, understanding the accent, like the guy, water, those things we couldn't understand. Yeah, but we spoke English, all of us. Yes.
Now, tell me once you were all here, what took place for your family? What changes, what adjustments? How did your family become Americanized? How did you adjust to living in a whole new country?
To be Americanized was not so difficult for us because there was a huge propaganda on United States in Iran, which was a dream for everybody to come to United States. But the problem was the reaction of American families then in 1979 to Iranians because of the hostage situation. We were all considered terrorists. So my sister and my brother, my younger sister and my brother that went to high school right as soon as they arrived, they were bullied. They were the cupboards were all vandalized. They were made fun of because they thought the hostage situation is our fault. So they really, really suffered. When I came here, I started with my college education, the first year of college. And in college, it wasn't so bad. But in high school, no, they suffered a lot. They really suffered. Even the teachers were against them. That
Wow.
was the part. The difficult part about adjusting was the hatred that was going on with the Iranian people at the time.
Hmm. Now, technically, you're Iranian, but you're also Jewish. So were you under persecution because of your being Jewish?
We thought that we would be, but funny enough, they didn't touch too many Jews. And my uncles they still live in Iran. And they go to the synagogue. Of course, they're taking care of, they're watching them, what they do, because you're not considered, you shouldn't be a Zionist. You could be Christian, Jewish, and Muslim in Iran as long as you are not against the government. But at the time, we didn't know. So we were all scared and we wanted to leave. Yeah, because of our religion.
So now, once you're in America, tell me about your life here.
It was a great new beginning. Everything was very interesting. Life in the United States was exciting. We all continued with our education. My younger brother, Fibers, he was in 8th grade, I think, or 9th grade when he started here. And he on his own, he became a neurosurgeon. And my sister became she was for a master's degree in architecture. And my younger sister became a computer analyst. And we all, I went to college and we all got married. We had our children. Honestly, it was an American dream. We were in the land of opportunity, as we said, and the sky was the limit. And we were just happy that we had our freedom back and we weren't scared. So we made the best of it. And I got married here, and I had my 4 boys, and my brother got married, my sisters, we all had our lives. The only part that was very difficult was my father, because he didn't have a job here, and so he was home most of the time, and it was not the ideal situation for my mom because he had nowhere to go and nobody to order around. So that was not an ideal situation, but the rest of it was fine. The rest of it, we were happy because it's true that we lost our home and our money and our friends and the language and the culture that we know, but we had a fresh beginning with the best country, in the best country. So we made the best of it, as an immigrant usually do.
Now, how long was it calm and good before the next tragedy struck?
I I landed here March 21st, 1979, which is exactly 41 years ago, on my birthday, actually. And my first tragedy, I mean, life wasn't rosy. We all had to work hard, and we all had the normal problems that you could either dodge or just take care of, like everybody else. Financial problems, every kind of problems that people usually do when you're alive. And in 2007, when I was traveling with my 2 youngest sons, Cameron and Jordan, um, when I landed in New York City, there were 2 police officers by the airplane that they escorted me out, and they took me to a chapel. I didn't know there are chapels at the airports, and they told me that I have lost my third son, Stefan, to a fire accident at Boston University. It was 6 weeks before his graduation. They cut off the electricity in the month of February when it's cold, obviously. I don't know why. And they came back home from a party, and they put candles out so they would talk. And then my son there were no Ubers. Then my son called for taxis for the girls that were back in their building. He actually, the girls, his friends told me that he took the license plate and the name of the driver to make sure that they were going to get home safe. And then he came back up, and the rest, I don't know. The building went on fire, probably because of the candles. And I honestly don't want to know, but I guess he was trapped in the fire.
Mm.
So on February 24, 2007, I lost my son. And life changed after that. Nothing was the same. But 2 months after I lost my son, I opened up an organization under his name called Soheila Adelipour for Life Foundation. And every year on his birthday, I have fundraisings for him. And through his organization, he was able to help hospitals, orphanages, give away scholarships every year, help people with cancer, or basically whoever needed a helping hand. Through his organization for past 12 years, he was supposed to do that. As I always say, he's not here physically because he was a perfect son, but his name could still make a difference. And that's what his name does.
Yeah.
Every year. On November 19th, on his birthday, I have a fundraising under his, in his name in New York.
And you still have that foundation now?
Yes, I do. Yes. So, and the beauty of it is that I see how it changes people, how it changes situations, how it still makes a difference. I mean, to be honest with you, when I started the foundation, I couldn't care less about helping people because I thought life is so cruel. I just did that because my son was a very ambitious boy, and he always told me, he used to tell me, Mom, wait until I graduate. When you Google my name, so many wonderful things are going to come up. He never got to graduate, and at least when they Googled his name, wonderful things come up. At least that part of it I'm taking care of.
That's an incredible legacy that you're carrying on for your son.
Thank you.
You know, I've talked to other moms who've done the same thing. They've lost a child and created a foundation, and it created for them a place to say the name of their child and honor their child, and ironically, it helps them grieve by focusing on helping other people. Did you
Yeah.
find that to be true for you as well?
Every time. Because as I said, I started as for a selfish reason, because I wanted his name not to be forgotten. So every time there's a check name written to Soheila Adelipour for Life Foundation, it brings a smile to my face. And every time I see that it has helped pay for somebody's scholarship, college education, or somebody that had cancer and couldn't take care of all the expenses, or an orphanage, it honestly brings a smile to my face, in a sad way, of course, not a happy smile, but a smile of satisfaction, maybe, of thinking that, if I hadn't done this, his name would be always said with a sad and tragic, but now when his name is mentioned, it's helping. So it's, as I always say, if your color blue, if you just make a small effort and add color yellow to it, it has no choice. Automatically, it will change into green. And then people will see green only, not the blue. The blue is always there. It's the basic color of the color green, but nobody would see it. It's there, but people would see green. And that's why I wanted to change the nature of that tragedy. I wanted to change the blue into green, so it doesn't stay a tragedy.
So once you lost your son and you created that foundation, I believe there was another tragedy that happened in your family.
Yeah, a couple of them actually. I moved after I lost my son. I moved to Los Angeles because I couldn't stay in that neighborhood, and look at the schools and places that he used to go. So I moved to Los Angeles, only with, unfortunately, with my youngest son, because the rest of my kids wanted to be with their friends and in the old neighborhood. In hindsight, I don't know if I would have done it again if my mind was actually functioning normal, but that at the time it looked like the only thing to do. Uh, and then I had my older sister that's a few years older than Mizore. She for the past 20 years before that, she had um, tumors in her brain, and that it would pop up from different places. The first one was meningioma, which was in the front of her head. It's a long story. It's in the book, but my brother, which became a neurosurgeon, was on top of her case every single time. And during her life, she had 5 brain surgeries because they kept on showing up different places. And the last one was close to her optical nerve. And so they couldn't do the surgery. They did the gamma and the radiation, but unfortunately, as a result of, she went blind. And then she went deaf, and then she died in her bed. As I said, I cannot still believe that this has happened, and this is actually my story, our story. The week that my sister died, my brother, the neurosurgeon, my only brother that was taking care of her, was diagnosed with, he checked into Mount Sinai Hospital in New York for leukemia. And before that, because he had a blood situation, he had done the tests. And I was the only one out of the sibling that was the 100% match. So he had told me for 2 years before that, please keep yourself healthy because you're my insurance policy. So for 2 years, I was just too scared to get on a plane, cross the street, or do anything because I thought nothing should happen to me because I'm the only lifeline for my brother. And then literally from burying my sister, we all got into the car and we went to Mount Sinai Hospital to my brother. Make the long story short, it's all in the book. 8 months of stay in the hospital, and I slept in the waiting room next to him because I thought if I get too far away from him, it's the lifeline is broken. So I had to stay next to him. They told us 6 weeks after all his chemotherapies that gave him pneumonia and almost died, and he became septic from head to toe, went to MICU, medical ICU, and they told us the day that I gave him my bone marrow, they told us he's gonna die. He didn't die, which was a miracle, because they told us in 10 minutes he's dead. And 28 days later, because that's what it takes for bone marrow to kick in and show results. 28 days later, he was cancer-free with 0 blast cells, 0 cancer cells. So we were all celebrating, and the whole Persian community in Los Angeles and New York, they were happy. My friends in churches, my friends in mosques, they were giving away, things to poor people because he was loved by everybody. I mean, it's a long story. The hospital stay was 8 months, but 2 weeks after the bone marrow transplant, 2 weeks after they said that he's cancer-free, his liver stopped functioning because of GVH, which is graft versus host disease, meaning when the new cells come to the body, then the old cells, they start fighting, your body starts fighting. And the worst case scenario is that your liver stops functioning. And of course, he got the worst case scenario. And they said, don't worry about it. We're going to give him steroids and he's going to be fine. And he wasn't fine. So the doctors from the liver transplant at Mount Sinai, which is one of the biggest in the whole country, told me that the only way for him to survive is for me to give him part of my liver. But they wouldn't do it because I could die. It's not a kidney transplant. They have to cut my liver. And he's in a bad shape. He's going to die anyway. So they're not going to do it. So now, of course, now that I found out there is a way out, I wouldn't stop asking them and begging them to do it. For 3 days, I went through every test under the sun to make sure that I'm a good candidate. And finally, after begging them for 4 days, they finally, Thursday night at 10 o'clock, the surgeon agreed to do it. The next day, Friday. And I went under the knife. Next to me was my brother. He went under the knife, and we both survived. We celebrated. As I said, it's a long story. It's in the book. Many, many things happened. But at the end, on Thanksgiving weekend, the most important holiday for my brother, because he loved United States of America, and he thought Thanksgiving is the most important one. He always would hold the glass of wine in his hand and say, we should be proud that we are an American now, and we're in this great country. Exactly on that day, he passed away from pneumonia. During all these things, my father was suffering from Alzheimer's. so, so honestly, we were juggling all these things. And my mom, God bless her, she's 90 years old now, and she's still in good health. And my mom losing two of her kids out of 5 in a matter of 8 months. And me going under the knife, and she thought she's going to lose me too. And she's still alive, and she's one of the strongest women I've ever known. And the last chapter of the book is called Dancing to the Darkest Light, as you said. But the last chapter is Dancing with Life. And it's all about how to go about life when life becomes difficult to handle or tragedies hit you. I mean, in my life, I have experienced almost every difficult challenge. Losing our money, losing our home, losing our friends, losing a child, losing sibling, losing my health. But at the end of the day, there is still so much to appreciate. And as Viktor Frankl said, it's to live for the whys in your life and not the why nots. And to still see beauty in life, because you never know what the next thing is. I mean, I've noticed that when you think it's the end of the world, especially now with coronavirus, it's still not the end of the world. Nothing is. When you think you have seen the worst, there's still worse things to see. So what you have left, as I say, as Itzhak Perlman, the great violinist the greatest maybe in the world, he was playing, he walked because he has braces, he had polio when he, as a young child. And when he walks to stage, it's not that he can just walk in. He has polio and he has to walk very slowly, and he sits on his chair and he takes the braces off of his knees and he puts it down, and he takes his very famous violin out and he signals to the band to start playing. And once they start playing, the whole thing goes on, and he's busy playing his violin, and all of a sudden, after a few minutes, there's a huge pop sound in the room, and then everybody goes quiet, and the musicians, they go quiet, and the sound was from one of the strings on his violin that it popped, and he had to keep on playing or just change the violin or stop the concert. So he just took a couple of deep breaths and he looked at the musicians, he nodded at them, and he started playing his violin and the music with only the 3 strings that was left. And he recreated the music as he was going along. And at the end of the concert, when they asked him why did he do that, he said, sometimes you have to try to make the best music with what you have left. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do that. I want to be also a lesson for my children and for my family, that life could still be beautiful. Sunrise is beautiful, a sunset is beautiful, a rose is beautiful, a child's laughter is beautiful. And you should just focus on that. And as I said, put a little yellow in the blue and change the color. So you wouldn't see the green and people wouldn't see the green, the blue, and they would only see the green. That's my message in the book.
So how have you, Soheila, navigated so much grief? What are some of the things that you did? I know some of it was just pure survival,
Yeah.
but looking back, what can you see about yourself and the journey?
I did not, I know some people, they go towards religion more. In my case, I went the other way. I went the other way because there were a group of prayers or friends that came to the hospital every single night at sundown. I'm behind my brother's room for 8 months, and they did the prayer for his health, not missing one evening. And I thought that the God that I believed in had disappointed me big time. So I went the other way. I went to every school of thought to see which one speaks to me and which one I can hold on to. You know, when if your ship is sinking, even a piece of wood in the ocean is pretty important in your survival. You can hold on to that bark of wood, which in other cases you wouldn't even pay attention to. So that's what I didn't do, is to go take medication, which I did after losing my son for a couple of months. I took antidepressant, but I was a zombie. I basically I basically gave up the feeling of just feeling for not feeling at all. I sacrificed that. I sacrificed feeling for not feeling at all. And I was miserable doing that. And I read a story somewhere that, to me, it's amazing. You know, lobsters, when they're born in that fit exactly in that rigid shell that they have. And after a while, the lobster inside grows bigger and the shell stays the same size. And they're very uncomfortable. They're in a tight situation. They're in pain, and they don't know what to do with themselves. So what the lobsters do, they go under the rock, come out of the old shell, and they make a new shell that fits them right, and they're more comfortable. And they change the shell that they had. In some cases, they find the shell from another lobster and they go into that shell, which is recycling, which I think it's an amazing thing to do. And then they come out, and after a while, the lobster grows bigger and the shell gets tight, and they do the whole thing again. But the funny part about the story is that if there was a clinic in the lobster world down in the water, and the lobster would have gone to the doctor and say, listen, I'm in pain. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm just miserable. I feel confined. The doctor would tell him, listen, take Xanax, take this medication. You wouldn't feel a thing. It's true, you wouldn't feel a thing, but you still know that you're uncomfortable in this position, but you forget what to do. You forget what to do because you're under the drugs, influence of the drugs. The thing is, they change. And life is about change. I mean, everything changes. As the Greek philosopher said, you can never step into the same river twice because you're not the same person and it's not the same river. Everything changes, and change is a very small world that we use it all the time. We use it, change your clothes, no. Change your hairstyle, change your house, change your car. It doesn't sound like a very sophisticated word, but the key is change. And in order to be able to survive in a world when things don't go your way or becomes challenging or difficult, is to change your outlook and change your approach and change whatever you thought your life should have been, and go with what it is now and change to it accordingly. I mean, I always say change is a small word, but the small key opens huge doors.
Mhm.
A small key can open a huge door, and change is exactly that small key that will open huge doors for you. And if you're stuck in the same state of mind that you were before and keep on asking why, it's a recipe to disaster, because you're never going to get the answer. But if you change accordingly, just like when there's a storm and the trees, like you're living in California, I live in California now. When there's a huge storm, the palm trees bend And that's why they're so tall, and you never see a palm tree broken. Never. You will never see a palm tree break in half. But you see a lot of huge, trees that they refuse, or they can't bend to the wind, that they come out of with the roots, and they fall down because they refuse to change accordingly. So I think the important thing in life is to learn how to change, given the circumstances. And that's what I did. I took classes, I read, I lost myself in nature, which I think whatever you want, the answer is in nature. Whenever you think you're stuck, the answer is in nature. And you can learn huge lessons from the nature. That's what I did.
So how many years has it been since your brother passed away?
He passed away 2013 November, and my sister too. Both passed away 2013.
So it has not been that long.
No. So my brother, because it's in the book, so many things has happened. It happened to him during those 8 months of stay. He basically, the doctors told us 4 times that he's going to die. So go say your farewells to him. And he didn't. And the only time that they told us he's going to go home next week, he died. So there's so many miracles, and so many, like the doctors would say, we cannot believe, how did this happen? How is he still alive? So I kept on telling my brother, because I was next to him the whole time, and we were sharing now the same blood and the same liver. So I told him, Fibers, we should write a book together, because this thing sounds really bizarre, everything that is happening. And he said, yeah, when I go home, we're going to write a book together. I said, yeah, when you go home, because I do not know the medical terms, and you being a neurosurgeon, you could help me with those, and I can write a book. And we kept on talking about it a lot, that we should write this and we should write that. And of course, he never went home. And I thought to myself, what's the point of writing a book when the ending is so sad? But there was a sound in my head the whole time, when I went shopping, when I worked out, when I walked in nature, that I should write a book. I should write a book. I should write a book. And the first title that came to my mind was Wrestling with God, with the W and the L crumbling down, so it becomes Wrestling with God. I basically played with words. But I thought, what wrestling with God? I was not wrestling with God. Nobody was wrestling with God. It was just a dance. The life played the music, changed the music, and we all danced to the music. And the only way to survive is to dance to the melody that the life plays. Because if you wrestle with God, somebody's going to lose at the end. And it's not going to be God for sure, if there is a God or the universe. And I definitely will be the one that lost. Would be the one that the back is pinned down to the ground. And I'm at the end tired and exhausted and angry. So no, it wasn't really a wrestling match, even though everything was done with the title Wrestling with God. And one night I thought, no, honestly, it's a dance. Life is always playing a melody. Today is different than the next day. And you should just try to dance with it. And when you don't know how to dance with it, you just improvise. You just do your best. And you continue on dancing with life. And then it doesn't sound so bad when you think you're dancing with it.
I love the analogy of dancing, and I've used it a lot myself, because there's a truth to that. It's we can't control life, right? We can't control the things that happen. The one thing that we might have a little control over is our own reaction to it.
Respond. Can I correct you?
Yes.
Respond. I'm sorry, but I think reaction is like that,
Yes.
Without thinking, and respond is that you sit back and you listen to the music, and then you know what kind of a dance you should do. Problem is, choosing not to react and to respond.
Being more of a thermostat versus a thermometer.
Exactly. Very well said. Yeah, very well said.
It's so true, though. It's very difficult in the midst of it, isn't it?
It
To
is.
keep your head on straight.
It is. It is. But again, if you have a why to live for, I didn't say that, then you have you will deal with any house. And the book, Viktor Frankl's book, helped me a lot because after all, he has seen the worst, and he came out of it smelling like, not like roses, but he actually made a huge difference in this world. I mean, I read Anne Frank. Anne Frank didn't even live that many years, but the impact that she had on this world is plenty. People come and go. They live to be 80, 90, sometimes 100 years old. They come and go. Nobody remembers them. But somebody like Anne Frank, in so many, just a few years, he made such a huge impact on this world. It's your response to the situation that creates you as a human being, or makes the person that you are. It's your decision how to approach it. And every day the decision might change. Today decision might not work for tomorrow or next week. So it should be according to the circumstances, the response, the decision that you make. But that creates your destiny. Every decision that you make along the way creates your destiny. That's, at least that's what I think after everything that has happened to me. I mean, I stayed next to my brother for 8 months, and I gave another bone marrow after the first bone marrow. I honestly, I kept on telling him, Fibers, please just stay alive. You know, if your kidneys are not doing well after everything, after all this chemotherapy, I have a kidney for you. So not to worry about it. I have a kidney reserved for you, because, you know, I was willing to give my life for my brother to stay alive. And I honestly believe that I had paid my dues with my son. And this is my purpose in life, is here in this world, is to save my brother. And I was 100% sure that he's going to survive, because I thought that's my purpose. I couldn't do anything about my son, but I could save my brother. And at the end of the day, I didn't, or I couldn't, or the universe had other plans for us. So for months and months, Gina, I was walking around looking up. I mean, I don't know how people are going to react to me saying that, but I've been very, very truthful about my feelings throughout the whole thing. I would look up at the sky and I would curse at God. Curse. For a minute, I would shout and yell and curse at God, because I thought, oh, this is what it is, huh? You put me in a position that I really believe that I could save my brother, and at the end, you had the last laugh. How do you feel about that? You took my brother away after everything. After I say that I gave my liver, but while I decided to do that, my kids, my 3 kids, they were begging me. They were crying on the floor, begging me. They're grown men, that I shouldn't do that because they have lost a brother and they don't want to lose their mother. And I didn't even tell my husband that I was giving my liver to my liver, because I didn't want him to say no. He found out from other people. And when he said, don't do it, I said, it's my body, it's my liver. I decide what I want to do with this body. Nobody else can decide for me. This is the only thing that belongs to me. This, I can decide for this myself. So I had made up my mind, but to deal with my kids and my family, that was a very difficult part to do it. And at the end, he was gone. So how could I not be angry at God? But at the end of the day, I thought, first of all, if there's a God, we're nobody. We think we're important. But if we take the camera away from planet Earth, we're nothing but ant colony. We're just moving around. And from that angle, we're nothing but ants. We think we're important. We think we matter. But honestly, in this huge universe, galaxies, what are we? I mean, we really think that God is sitting up there, this old man, and decides for me, or for my brother, my sister, or for my son? I mean, to think like that, that's being naive. That's being not in touch with reality. To think that there is somebody actually listening to me. There's 7 billion people on this planet now. Billions of people were there before us. Billions of people are going to be there after us. And we still think we're important? I mean, who are we? No, there is nobody up there deciding for us. We have to decide for ourselves. We have to make the best of the situation, and be the best person that we are. And that's Itzhak Perlman said, make the best music with what we have left. That's what I think. And to become the best of what we could be, not just to settle for what we are. That's what I think.
It gives purpose to life to continue dancing, doesn't it?
Yes, yes, yes. And it makes people around you happy when then they start dancing with you. Dancing is contagious. When you have a good music on and you start dancing, honestly, you look at the people in the street that they're dancing. Why all these people get, create a circle around this, street artists that are dancing, and they start, because it's contagious. It's like one candle that could turn light 100 other candles. And when you do that, as a result, your own surrounding becomes brighter. You're not taking away from the first candle. You're only making your surroundings brighter than what it was before, that you were selfish. You thought, oh, I'm just this one candle and I'm going to stay this one candle. No, give your love, give your happiness, give whatever you can to other people, and you're helping your own life and your own emotions, and you're going to benefit. When you give love, you're helped more than the person that you're loving. It's true. It's given. I mean, even you should try it. If anybody thinks it's a cliche, but if they try it, you'll see. It's like a magnet. It brings people together, and as a result, your surrounding is a happier surrounding. I mean, if I was walking around with a sad face and felt like a victim and felt like the whole world is against me, nobody wanted to be around me anymore. Now, I have had all these tragedies, and I always say I'm blessed with wonderful family and wonderful friends. If you have two good friends that you can depend on, you're very lucky. I have honestly 50 great friends that I have around that I can go to if I have a problem. It's positivity brings positivity. Happiness brings happiness. Love brings love. And negativity attracts negativity.
It's really powerful to talk to someone who has endured so much tragedy, who is still able to dance to the music. I think that's the inspiring part of your story, because you didn't stay stuck in the blue. You added the yellow
Yeah.
to your life, and I think that's a powerful message that you can give to people. What is your mission now?
It's true, as you say, that's maybe a powerful message that I'm giving to people, but still, when you want to plant seeds, you don't go around and you just throw seeds on asphalt on a wooden floor. You make the grounds, the earth, the dirt ready for it, and you actually plant seeds, and then you have a chance that seed grows to its potential to be, because a seed has all the potential of a huge tree or a lemon tree, or because we're in California, so we're so lucky, whatever we throw there, it grows to a tree, or apple tree. It's a small seed, but the potential is there. And it's very unfortunate that people come to this world and leave this world and they never find out what their potentials are. So I always say, I try to give the message, but unless the earth, the dirt and the conditions are not ready for the seed to be planted and grows to be potential, there's nothing to be done. I mean, I can throw the seeds, which I would never do, on an asphalt. It's not going to get anywhere. My mission is through the book and through my speeches, which I have a couple of them on YouTube. Actually, I have dance pieces on YouTube, because in one of my fundraising, the dancer on stage took me on, because I love to dance, and I'm not a professional dancer, I just love to dance. He actually took me on stage and I danced with him, and this was after I lost my son, my sister, and my brother. And at the thought, at the moment I thought, wow, that is amazing that I'm on the stage in front of so many people and I'm dancing. And that's my book. I'm glad I changed the name of the book. I want to speak. I want to speak to people because everybody has a problem. Everybody has a problem. And I think it was Viktor Frankl that said, suffering is like a gas that you let go in a room. No matter the amount of gas, no matter the size of the room, it spreads out in the room evenly. So suffering in a human being is the same thing. If you have suffering, it just takes over your whole being. One doesn't have to lose so many loved ones to suffer. You could lose a job and suffer. You could go through a divorce and suffer. But to me, for all the wrong reasons, those are just not permanent situations. They just come and go because you never know what happens after a divorce. You might fall in love, which has happened many, many times. You don't even remember the asshole that you used to be with. It's temporary, it's not permanent. But I would like to talk in front of people and answer their questions and to tell them, listen, even when you think it's the end of the world, it's not the end of the world. It never is. Even at the times like now with coronavirus, it's not the end of the world. This world continues on. It goes on forward, and you might as well go on with it forward, not to be stagnant like water that becomes rotten and green because it's just in one place. You just have to move forward, and you have to go with the flow. I mean, if you're stuck in a river with a strong current, if you hold on to a branch, how long do you think you can stay against the current and hold on to that branch? You will be frustrated, angry, and tired at the end. But if you let go and just go with the flow of the water, just let go. Whatever the flow is, just let go and go with it. The scenery might be actually nice down the river. You might enjoy what you see after that. That's what I think it is.
It takes a lot of courage to let go, though, doesn't it?
Yes, but you cannot hold on forever. You're going to be miserable. You're going to be miserable. It's better to let go.
Better to let go. Well, Soheila, I want to thank you so much for sharing your
Thank
story
you.
and your heart with my audience today.
Thank
It's amazing to meet someone who's been through so much and still continues to encourage people. I think it is in the furnace of suffering that sweetness, that temperance comes, right? It's like gold. You put it
Yeah.
in the fire and the dross comes off and it just purifies. If we allow those difficulties in
Yes.
life, they do purify us.
Yes, yes. And you find things about yourself that you never knew it existed. You find a strength in you. You find the humbleness in you. You understand other people's pain if you choose to. And you find things about yourself that you never knew it was there. You never knew it was there. And you have to just cherish the new chapter and the people around you and make the best of it and change the blue to green. Change the color blue to green. You can make it, anybody can make an impact in this world by just helping the neighbor. But just like my son today, my third son today told me, because we cannot go out or do anything because of coronavirus, I said, Mom, you want to walk in the street and just collect garbage and clean the street? And I said, yeah, that's a good idea. I said, let's do that tomorrow. He told me yesterday. So yeah, that's a good thing to do. Let's do that because we're stuck at home. We cannot do anything. We might as well clean the streets. So, whatever you can do, small things, it adds up to big thing.
Well, again, I want to thank you for sharing your story, for being courageous enough to write it down and be an unwilling author. You're a storyteller, right?
I always say I'm not an author because I don't have the education. And you said you don't need education. I'm a storyteller, but my friends tell me, you wrote a book? I said, yeah. I said, okay, you're an author.
That's how it works.
Well, yeah, I hope people like my book. I mean, it's the last chapter should be able to help anybody that's going through rough times.
Wonderful. And
Thank
what
you.
we're going to do, my friends, is if you subscribe down below, look in the description. I'm going to have links to Soheila's book
Thank
and
you.
to her foundation so that you can get in contact with her and what she's doing. And like she said, dance to the music that's playing in your world right now. Find a way to find joy in what you're experiencing and reach out to those who can help you, like Soheila and her book. Read books that will encourage you, like Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning or Anne Frank's diary. There's a lot of virtual mentors out there when we're struggling that we can reach out and read. In this video, share this video with your friends. If anybody is struggling and they're just having difficulty finding the light, let this video be light in their life. Please share, please subscribe, click the link down below so you don't miss any other stories. And we thank you so much for being a part of our audience today. Take care, my friend.